channel, or welcome if you're new. I'm Leah. So today I thought I'd tell you guys about my job history. I have a few people ask me what I used to do before I got into property, so I thought I'd just spill the tea on all of the jobs that I had from when I was like literally 16. But yeah, I just thought I'd come and let you guys know about the little jobs that I used to do, so you can get to know me a little bit more, I guess, and yeah, get to know my background a little bit. Okay, let's get straight into it because I feel like I had a lot of different jobs that I need to fill you guys in with. So the first place I worked when I was 16 was Pizza Hut. So as soon as I finished school in May and had finished all my GCSEs and everything like that, straight away I was applying for jobs. And like all of that summer, like really struggled to get one, couldn't like get a job at all. And then luckily my friend had started working at Pizza Hut, and I think it was like in the September time, my friend was like, oh, there's some waitressing jobs available, like do you want me to put you forward? And I was like, absolutely, like I just need to get a job. Honestly, when I was 16 I was so desperate to work, so when she was like, okay, I'll put you forward, I was like, yes, 100%. So literally she put me forward to the job, and then I think within a week I had an interview, and then a few days later I had a trial shift and I got the job. So when I was at Pizza Hut I used to work like 10 to 12 hours a week, and usually on the weekend because I was in college at the time doing my A-levels, and Pizza Hut used to pay me a whole £3.72 an hour. So yeah, a whole £3.72 an hour, but honestly I was just buzzing to have some sort of job and just to be working because it just gave me a little bit of money every week, do you know what I mean? It was weekly pay, my friend worked there as well, so I was like, I'm chilling, it's cool. So like I said before, I was a waitress, so I'd have to do things like taking orders, serving people food, making drinks, setting tables, cleaning, little bits and bobs like that, like refilling the salad bowl and things like that. Now, I don't know why, but I found working at Pizza Hut so intense. Like, I feel like working there was very fast paced, and it was like, there's always like so much going on, so I felt like I was fully multitasking all the time. Like some of the shifts, like all of us waitresses would literally be running from one side of the restaurant to the other because literally we were just always so busy, and it was a lot, man. Like it was so very fast paced, it was intense, it was a lot. So at Pizza Hut we had 4 different managers. 2 of them were like super lovely. Literally I loved when I was on shift with them, and then the other 2, I'm not gonna lie, they were just really like arsey and really snappy, and to be honest they could be like pretty nasty to everyone. Like I think being on shift with them, like everybody always felt the pressure. It was always like, oh, like make sure you don't do like a single little thing wrong because they're just gonna like go for you kind of thing. So yeah, being on shift with them was always like intense. I remember one day I was like pretty much in training still, and they were really understaffed and it was like super busy, so I kind of ended up like thrown in the deep end looking after like so many tables, and I did something wrong and the manager like literally flipped and was like, oh, you can't even do anything anyway. Like they were so rude. Like I can't believe like they were actually that rude, you know? You're just like, who are you even talking to? But yeah, those 2 managers were definitely pretty bad vibes. I feel like it was definitely like a power trip thing as well, but yeah, bad vibes. So yeah, I wasn't particularly like loving it working there, and especially because of the 2 managers, I was just like, oh, can I do this job? Like I've got college, like is it the priority right now kind of thing. I honestly used to get so excited when the restaurant was quiet and they were like, you know what, you can go home early if you want. I'd be like, yes, get me home, because I was just like, no, like this job is not it. I feel like after a while I started to get used to working there, and I also started to make really good friends with some of the girls there, and I feel like we just bonded over how intense the job was and all of the different little things that were going on. So it was kind of chill in the end, and I was getting on okay there. Even though at this point I'd kind of got used to the job and got used to the snappy managers and things like that, when it came to April I was like, you know what, I'm actually gonna leave because my like first year A-level exams were coming up, and I was just like, you know what, let me just like focus on that for a little bit. I had a bit of savings, like I managed to save even on £3.72, and that would just give me more time and give me a chance to like focus on college and things like that. So at the time I left Pizza Hut, my mom was actually self-employed, and she said to me that if I wanted to I could raise invoices for her every week and she would pay me. So she used to pay me like £50 a week to like raise these invoices. That was my second little hustle, so I was kind of just like, oh well, I can do this really chill, focus on college, have a little bit of money for raising the invoices. So I was kind of just sorted for a little bit. So yeah, I did actually do that for quite a while. I'd say I did it for about 2 years alongside other jobs as well, but yeah, that did me nicely. I enjoyed it, it was chill, and yeah, that was like mine and mom's first time working together. So after about a year of raising invoices for mom, I then decided that I wanted to get another job alongside it just to have more money basically. I think I was like driving at this point, so I was like, yeah, a bit of extra cash, that would be good. So basically there was this restaurant in my hometown in Shropshire that my dad's friend actually used to be the head chef of, and we used to go there like pretty often back then because there's honestly not that many good restaurants like over that way, so we used to go there pretty often. I'd say at one point we were going like once a week on a Friday, me and mom, and because we used to go so often I kind of felt like I got to know the staff because I was just a regular customer. So yeah, I really got to know them and I was like, oh, this place is pretty chill, like I wouldn't mind working here. So we went in one Friday for lunch and I asked the manager if she had any jobs going. So the manager was different to the head chef that was my dad's friend. The manager was like the manager of the waitresses, if that makes sense. So I said to her like, oh, do you have any jobs going? And she was like, yeah, we do actually. And I was like, buzzing. So I think I had my interview literally like the day after, and then I got the job and then literally started the following weekend. So I used to work on Fridays and Saturdays usually. I think I only worked like 5 hours each shift. And I was really just doing like similar tasks to the tasks that I was doing at Pizza Hut, to be honest, but this time I was getting paid £5.03. So a little bit of a pay rise, you know, I loved it. So this job was basically Pizza Hut Part 2. It was a very, very intense environment and yeah, it was a lot. The manager was definitely very, very arsey, but the head chef, who was my dad's friend, oh my God. The way he would shout and swear at us, like, I was actually terrified. Like, I was honestly so scared. We were only like a small team of waitresses and there'd be like 2 of us on shift at a time. And I just remember me and the other girl, we walked into the kitchen and like we were putting our plates like on the like rack thing to be washed. The way he screamed at us. And at this point, I'm only like 2 or 3 shifts in. So I'm like brand new, don't even really know what I'm doing. We put the plates on the rack and he just started screaming at us. He was like, what on earth is going on? Like, starts effing and blinding at us. He was like, you're putting the plates on wrong, like screaming and swearing at us. We were just like, what the hell? We literally came out and our manager was like, yeah, just don't go in the kitchen. He's just in one of those moods. And I was like, one of those moods? Like, I'm actually terrified. But yeah, I was properly like on edge because I was just like, I don't even want to do a single thing wrong. Like, I don't even want to breathe at this point because are you just gonna scream at me? Like, we were proper on edge. But yeah, as well, it was just so awkward because obviously the head chef in the restaurant was my dad's friend. I mean, I don't want to say friend, my dad honestly knows so many people, so friend is a strong word, I would say, but like he literally knew my dad before I was born. So this guy knew me when I was like a child because we used to go in there when I was like really young, and I was like, you've known me since I was a child and now you're here screaming and swearing in my face. Like, it was just the weird, like it's just awful. Can you imagine? Like, it was just so weird. It was just, yeah, it was just intense, man. But yeah, that job was just a lot. And then on top of like dealing with the head chef, the manager was also very rude. Yeah, she was just a piece of work. I remember at one point when it had gotten quiet, I was literally just in tears because I was like, what on earth is this job? Like, I just can't even do it anymore. So honestly, it just got to a point where I was like, I've seen enough. Like, I've seen what I needed to see. Like, I cannot work here anymore. Like, this isn't the place to be working, do you know what I mean? So after I decided that I'd had enough and I didn't want to work there anymore, the day after I printed off loads of copies of my CV. I walked around the town centre of my town and literally walked into every single shop and I was like, do you have any jobs going? Do you have any jobs going? I was like honestly so determined because I was like, I need to get out of that environment, like it's just not the one. So I walked around the town centre, got to House of Fraser and literally walked around every single till and every single concession that they had, and I finally came to one called Mint Velvet. Don't know if you've heard of it. Like, is it a well-known brand? Is it not? Let me know in the comments. So I got to the Mint Velvet concession and there was a lady stood behind the till and we were chatting for a little bit and I was like, oh, I don't suppose you've got any jobs going. We were getting on like really well. I don't know what it was. We just kind of like connected and yeah, we were just getting on really well. I was like, have you got any jobs going? And she was like, actually, it's funny that you mention it. Someone handed in their notice last night. And I'm obviously buzzing because I was thinking like, we've just been chatting for ages, like we obviously got on really well, so my chances are looking good. I literally had my interview a few days later and got the job. So then I handed my notice in at the restaurant and then the manager literally cancelled all of my shifts anyway, so I didn't even go back. So I started working in House of Fraser in the summer before I started uni, so I was like 18 at this point and the job used to pay £7.20. So imagine how excited I was. I was like, like, wow, from £3.72 to £7.20, I was like, look at me. So I was pretty buzzing. I would work weekends and then the odd weekday here and there as well, but like I literally loved House of Fraser. Like the job was pretty easy, to be honest, pretty chill, and I really got on with the other girls that worked there as well because they were all young, chill. Some of the girls I actually used to go to school with, and yeah, it was just a good vibe. And yeah, I feel like that was the type of job I'd always wanted from when I was 16. Like it was just chill, man. Loved working in retail, and it was good because me and the manager used to really get on, and she was always like, oh, you're doing amazing, blah blah blah. So yeah, I was really enjoying it. But yeah, I was really happy and comfortable in my job, and I was like, I'll definitely work here until I like finish uni and everything like that. I was like, this job is just chill, I love it here. So things were going really well at House of Fraser. I was literally loving it, and it got to the point where a lot of people had left Mint Velvet, so they were getting pretty understaffed. And at this point I'm at uni, and I'd been going through a few things in my personal life, and I was just feeling very down, very overwhelmed, and it was just a very low point in my life. I checked the rota and she literally increased my shifts by so much without even asking me. I was like, I can't even do this, like I just can't do this. Obviously I'm at a point where I'm feeling really low and overwhelmed anyway, and then uni's my priority and she's trying to get me to do X amount of shifts that I can't do. I was just like, man, this isn't gonna run. So when I told her that I couldn't do all of the shifts that she'd put me down to do, she literally just completely flipped and was like, what am I meant to do? Like, you've left me hanging, like all of this. And I was like, I never agreed to the shifts in the first place. Like, why did you put that many down? This is just ridiculous. They managed to get cover for the store, and she was just like, oh, it's fine, don't worry about it, like being really nicey. Then I came in on the Saturday, and we basically used to have this book where we'd like leave messages for each other. So like anything that the person needed to know for like the new day, like you'd write it in the book just to like keep them informed kind of thing. And she basically wrote in the book saying that I was shit and I wasn't doing my job properly and things like that, just proper like going off on one. Bearing in mind that anybody that was going to be covering shifts or working there was going to be able to see this like nasty message that she wrote in the book, and I was like, that's so childish. Like honestly, anybody could have had access to the book. Like even people who didn't work in our concession, they could have just picked it up and seen that she'd wrote this nasty message in the book. And I was like, is she 5? Like she was like some big grown woman writing a message in a book. I was just like, nah, this is just childish. Like I was like, what's actually wrong with her? And it was kind of like a coincidence because obviously before she'd been saying like, oh, you're so good at everything you do, like you're really good at your job, and then all of a sudden I do like one little thing that's annoyed her and she's like, yeah, shit. And I was just like, no. So she just completely changed from that moment on. I mean, I say she changed, but I feel like she must have had it in her soul all of that time. Like, why would someone just flip out and do a complete 180? Do you know what I mean? So I was like, nah, you've obviously had this bit of like bad mind in you, because this is just weird. And basically I'd become quite close with one of the girls who worked at French Connection, which was like next to us. And she told me, because we used to actually go to uni together, so we'd become quite close, we'd get the train together and things like that. And she basically told me that my manager was slagging me off to the other managers and was basically saying, I don't know what her problem is, like what she got to be stressed about, what she got going on in her life. As soon as I heard that, I was like, is she alright? Is she actually alright? She's actually childish. I honestly couldn't even get over how petty this woman was being. I was like, is she 10? Like, what is going on? So the same day that my friend told me that, I literally went home, updated my CV and started applying for jobs straight away, because I was like, you're not going to take me for a fool. You're just actually being rude. I've got things going on in my life and you're just completely like minimizing it and just being like, oh, it's not that bad. And it's like, how do you know what I'm going through? I was just like, no, I can't deal with this. Like, this woman is actually rude. So within literally a week, I had a call from Sainsbury's asking me to come in for an interview, and I was successful. So literally it all happened so quickly, and I managed to get a new job, and I was just like, yes, goodbye, House of Fraser. So I handed my notice in, and I think it was like 2 weeks notice or something like that. But like literally on one of my like final shifts, I don't know if it was like the last shift or like the second to last shift or something, or like the shift I had after I handed my notice in, the manager literally came in begging me to stay. She was like, oh, like I'm really sorry that it's got to this. I feel so bad. Like, I don't know how it got to this. I really got on really well with you and everything like that. And I was like, just go away. It's too late, babes. I'm moving to Sainsbury's. Like, no. So I started at Sainsbury's, and Sainsbury's used to pay pretty well, to be fair. I think it was like £7.84 an hour or something like that. Started there, it was really good, met some really nice girls. This was by far the easiest job I had. I was working on the checkout, so I would just be scanning everybody's shopping, obviously, and sometimes I'd work in the kiosk, so I used to have to give people lottery tickets, give them cigarettes, things like that. And yeah, it was very chill, very easy. When it was the summer holidays, because I was at uni at this point, I decided that I was going to sign up to a beauty agency as well. So basically, for this agency, you'd fill in for people, like if somebody calls sick at like different department stores. So say for example, like on a perfume counter, if someone calls sick, you'd go and like fill in for them. Or you know when they have like a new perfume and they have like the big stands and they're like really advertising it, you'd stand there and like work there. Obviously work wasn't guaranteed, it was kind of like a here and there thing. They literally usually call me like 1 or 2 days before the shift, but it used to pay like £60 a day, which was good. And then when I went back to uni for my second year, I would do like the odd shift here and there for the agency, but I was having to turn a lot of the work down because I was obviously working at Sainsbury's and obviously doing uni at the same time, so I couldn't really commit. As time went on, I was like, I probably would prefer to be doing the agency work more than Sainsbury's, because I was like, I'm just kind of more interested in that. And also the Sainsbury's customers were pretty rude. I feel like the staff at Sainsbury's were like all chill and I got on with all of them fine, but it was just the customers that were so rude. I remember one time this guy literally came, walked to my till, threw the shopping on the belt, and he was like, just pack it all then. I was like, fully attacked. Like he came in a couple of times and came to my till, and I was just like, yeah, they were just really, really snappy. Like, yeah, I was just finding that the customers were like really, really snappy, and I was just like, no, I'm just gonna go and work on the beauty counter where people are a bit more chill. But obviously this was a little bit of a risk because the work really wasn't guaranteed at all. It just really depended what they had going on and like if people were calling in sick and things like that. So I handed my notice in at Sainsbury's, ready to commit myself to the agency, and it just seemed like the work just really dried up. Like it just really dried up, but I did manage to do like a few shifts. I worked at like Le Maire, Hugo Boss, I did a few others as well, but yeah. All through this time of working, I managed to save quite a lot of my wages, so I wasn't too worried, and I wasn't worried as well because I was starting my internship soon. So all this time while I'm working at Sainsbury's and the agency, I'm applying for internships as part of my degree. So I studied business at Birmingham City University, and you had to do a placement year as part of your degree. And basically for normal placement years, you do 2 years at uni, you go off on placement and work full time, and then for your third year you come back to uni. But they said, we've invented this new course where basically you do 2 years at uni as normal, and then for your third year you go on placement, and then you also do your uni work alongside it. So you do like your uni work on the evenings and weekends basically. And I was like, well, that sounds fantastic, because that means that I'll kind of feel like I'm finishing uni early in a way, kind of thing, because it'll feel like I've only done 2 years, but then I'm like out working in the real world. So I was like, absolutely, I want to do that. So literally while I was on my placement year, I was still doing all the assignments, doing my dissertation, everything like that, just did it all alongside full-time working. So it did take me a while to find an internship, because I only wanted to work in marketing and I only wanted to work in Birmingham, because I was just like, I can't go anywhere else, like no. So literally at this point I'm just applying for any job that I can, and I finally managed to get an interview as a social media marketing assistant in a recruitment agency. So I was successful, got the job, and I started when I had just turned 20, so I was a baby. So the role included creating and scheduling social media posts. So I literally learned how to use like Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Photoshop on my internship, like really valuable skills. I also had to like create analytic reports for social media, reports to send to the consultants. If there was any like internal events or anything like that going on, then I would create all the graphics for it and things like that. There was like a whole range of jobs that I did, and yeah, I literally learned so much, like really learned some good key skills. The only problem that I had at the start while I was working there is I really struggled to feel comfortable, and I was shy. I was just really shy, if I'm honest. I just really felt like I couldn't be myself, and I was so different to everybody else, and I just really didn't feel comfortable in that environment. Like everybody was a bit older than me, just really different to me, and I was just like, no, I don't feel comfortable here. Like I just felt very awkward, and I really wasn't myself at all for a while. Like I just didn't settle into the role, I guess. And it really didn't help that someone on my team was challenging, to say the least. So in the marketing department, there was only 3 of us. There was me, obviously, the intern. Then there was my manager, who was a guy. And then there was another girl who was the marketing executive. And it was the marketing executive who was the challenging one. So the manager and the marketing exec, they were literally like dead ass best friends. They were best friends. They'd worked together in that company for 5 years, but then they also used to work in another company together, and then they kind of like both got brought over. So you can imagine what it's like going there, and it's like you're kind of like the third wheel already, because they're just like dead ass close. They're like this, and I'm like, hi, I'm Leah. The manager was honestly so nice, like really chirpy, really friendly, and she was just literally the complete opposite. Like, she was honestly a nightmare. People used to literally be confused as to how they were friends, because they were literally the complete opposite. Like, people were like, what the hell? She was honestly just so like stroppy and moody. Like, I'd go in and say like, oh, morning, to our little like pods, and like everybody sitting on our desk, and everybody like, oh, morning, you okay, you okay? She literally wouldn't even look up from her laptop, and then like 5 minutes later she'd be like, you okay? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm fine. And like, she was just honestly, oh, just even thinking about it now, she was just a piece of work. And I was like coming in and doing like certain tasks that she used to do, so obviously I would have to ask her for help. When I used to ask her for help, like the way she would just be like, oh, like proper sighing, like everything was just so much effort for her to do, and I was just like, how am I meant to know what I'm doing? Like, how am I meant to know? I can't even Google it because it's so like specific to the company. I was just like, this is just some bullshit. And honestly, I thought I was literally the only person that really got that vibe from her, and I was like, why is she so off with me? Like, I really took it personally. But it wasn't until I made friends with other people where they were like, no, she's like that with literally everyone. I was like, oh, like, it's all good then. Like, I'm not the only one who thinks that she's like an actual dementor. But yeah, that was honestly a very lonely point in my life, because I'd moved over to Birmingham for the first time. So for the first 2 years of uni, I was like, I'm just gonna commute. I can't be bothered doing that whole uni experience life. Like, if that's for you, then that's you, but it just wasn't me. So I was like, I'm not moving out for uni for the first 2 years, but I did for the final year. So I moved to Birmingham all on my own. Felt like I didn't have any friends, because obviously at this point, all of my friends are out on placement, and they'd all like left Birmingham and things like that. So I was like, I didn't have them. And I was just like, I haven't really made friends in this workplace. So it's just, I just felt very down for quite a while, and I was very lonely. And then I was dealing with this person on my team that was difficult to deal with. And I was just like, oh, this is just awful. And it took me a while to settle into the role, and even settle into like living in Birmingham and like moving city just completely on my own. Like, the struggle was real. We're okay now, but the struggle was real. But yeah, it got to the point where the manager, who was obviously her best friend, had to have a chat with her and be like, you need to fix your attitude, basically. And the manager also had a chat with me and was like, no, you're gonna see some changes. And then from then on, she was like really nice. But you know, when it's like, it's forced, but at least you're not now being vile. So yeah, like I remember them saying like, she's the type of person you have to get used to. And it's like, what do you mean she's the type of person you have to get used to? Can't she just be like a nice person? So drama. So things started to get better on that front, and then like 5 months in, there was a work night out. So drinks were flowing, we were doing, it was like karaoke or something like that. And I just really like felt comfortable, got to know everyone a bit more. I started to make friends with the people who worked on admin, which was really, really good for me. And yeah, I just started to feel comfortable at work. Our little marketing desk ended up moving to sit like next to where admin worked. And honestly, that was the only point where I was just like, yes, I feel fully comfortable here. I've got my admin friends over there. Like, this is just chill. Like, I felt like I could just ignore the dementor in the corner, because I was like, no, I've got my girls over in admin. So it was just kind of chill. And boys in admin. I don't know why I said girls. It was literally just one girl. So the girl who was on my team after a few months actually ended up leaving, which I remember the day that she said she was leaving. I was just like, I was honestly so buzzing, because I was just like, yes, I feel like there's gonna be like just like an energy lift when she's gone. And honestly, everybody felt it in the office. Like, everybody felt when she was gone. It was just a good time. And then one of the guys who worked in admin that I got on with, he moved over to the marketing team and kind of replaced her role and did some other things as well. But it was a good time. Also, little side note, one thing to mention here is this is the point in my life where I'm actually seriously and heavily looking into getting into property. So I'm coming home from work, doing my uni work and then I'm watching property videos on YouTube. Like I was just dead ass committed, like I want to get into property. So like this is the point in my life where I took it really seriously. Anyway, I'm getting on really well at work. I'm feeling super comfortable. I'm enjoying going into the office. I feel like I've started to fit in at this point, getting on really well with like so many people. I was like, yes, this is just a good time. The director of the company actually offered me a job for after uni, so I was obviously buzzing because I was just like, yes, like I'm just comfortable now, I can just stay. And I don't have to worry about like applying for grad jobs and things like that. So I was like, well, this is pretty chill. So a few months later, my manager actually left, and all of a sudden, why was I the most experienced person on the marketing team? Me, the intern, the most experienced. I was just like, what am I meant to do? Like, I don't even know. They hired a new manager, but she couldn't start for a few months. So they got this like temporary, like freelance marketing manager. But I was kind of at the point where everything was starting to feel really, really different. And I don't think it was really because of the temporary manager. I just think as a company, like just certain things I was starting to notice. I was like, like, is this the one kind of thing? Everything was just really different. And I was sort of feeling as well as if like I'd kind of stopped learning and I wasn't really progressing obviously as quickly as I did at the start. And I was just like, I don't know, I'm already very comfortable here and I'm not really being challenged and pushed in a way. So yeah, I was like kind of side-eyeing the job and I'm thinking like, do I still want it or what? One day the director called me in, I guess it was for like an appraisal because I'd never had one before. He called me in, had a chat, was like, is everything okay, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, he was like really happy. He was like, things are going really well, you know, things will be more settled when we get the new manager, etc. And I was like, yeah, like I'm sure it'll all be fine, buzzing. But basically at the end of the meeting, he says to me, okay, I'm not sure if we can guarantee you can still have a graduate job after you leave here because I'm not sure what the new manager is gonna want. And like me being me, I'm kind of like, I'm at a point where I feel unsure about this job anyway. And from this conversation, I'm like, is my job even safe? Like I've just taken it as like a red flag. So I'm just like, nah, I'm not really happy with this. And obviously at this point, because I really wanted to get into property, I was like, I don't want to like not have a grad job kind of thing. I was like, I want to have like a secure job, and also I wanted to keep living in Birmingham as well. So I was just like, I need a job. Like at this point, I just need a job. So because I felt like my job wasn't safe, I literally went home the same day, updated my CV and was just applying for any marketing grad job in Birmingham going. I applied for everything because I was like, I'm not being out of work because the new managers come in and like they don't want me kind of thing. I was like, no. And also at the point the directors had this conversation with me, I think I only had like 3 or 2 weeks left of my internship contract anyway. And I was just like, oh, what am I gonna do? So literally within a week of us having that conversation, I actually had a job interview at an Audi car dealership. And I found out pretty quickly that I had got the job. So literally my internship contract ended, I went on holiday for 3 weeks, and then by the time I came back, it was time to start my new job. But you know what, it's actually really funny that I'm talking about this now because this was all literally happening this time 3 years ago, and I'm like, wow, if only I could tell myself that I would be completely fine, because it was really stressful and I was really hurt and I was just like, they don't want me anymore. So, but you know, I'm fine. So as I mentioned before, this was a point in my life where I was like really dead ass serious and really wanted to get into property. So while we're on holiday, I'm literally watching so many videos, just like learning as much as possible, and I'm just really hyped at this point, and I'm like, I definitely really want to do it. I just fully had the energy of like, I want to be doing property full time. Like this marketing job's cool, but like I need to be property full time. So at the Audi dealership, I was a marketing assistant, and the job role pretty much sounded similar to like what I did in the previous job. So I was like, cool, because I was kind of thinking, well, this would be good because I'll be doing similar things, but instead of dealing with like recruitment, I'll be dealing with cars. So I was like, well, this is a lot more sexy. This was a grad role, so there was expectations, but I was just like, yeah, like new things to learn. This is gonna be amazing. The job paid 18k a year as well, which was great. So from the job description, I really pictured myself doing like really creative social campaigns, creating like the most creative content ever. I just thought the job was going to be super exciting, and there was absolute zero creativity in this job. Like it literally turned out to be like marketing admin, I would say. Like there was no There was no excitement. It was just a lot of like paperwork. Like working in that dealership was so old school. Like they were so stuck in their ways, like it was honestly ridiculous. Bearing in mind I'm going in as like the social media assistant kind of thing. They didn't even have Instagram, and I'm like, Instagram's such a visual platform and you're working with cars, like why have you not got an Instagram page? Like how are you that far behind? And they were like, yeah, we're not really allowed to get one. And I was like, what is this? So literally all the like social media things I would do would basically be on Facebook and Twitter. There was just literally so many different things in that business that needed properly like systemizing and automating, because it was like the time that I was spending doing all the things that needed automating was time taken away from being like creative and doing exciting things. I used to literally do this thing called like an auto trader report or something like that, and honestly I can't even remember exactly how you do it, but you'd have to count the amount of cars that were on auto trader for all of the 11 different Audi dealerships that we used to deal with. You'd have to like literally physically count them up and then like make sure they were all right or something, but that would honestly take me like 3 hours to do, so that would take up like a lot of my day. Another thing I'd have to do was like deal with all of the social media replies, but like even the way that like you would deal with the replies, everything just took so long. So you used to literally have to take a screenshot of the reply, turn it into a PDF, convert that into a Ziploc file, and then like send it on to a manager to deal with. But like everything was just so long and just so, yeah, it needed properly like systemizing. Like it was a mess. It was a mess. And I used to do like updates to the website as well, but honestly there was just so much to do. Like my hours used to literally be like 9 till 6, and honestly that wasn't even enough time. Like honestly the amount of times that we'd all have to work overtime, like it was a lot, man. I remember one day there was a girl on my team and she said that she'd literally worked until midnight on the Friday and then worked on the Saturday and Sunday to get like all of the work done. I was just like, what is going on? But yes, this role was very intense, especially when something was going on. So like if they were doing like offers or anything like that would be just like a really intense time where everybody would have to just like knuckle down and get the work done kind of thing. That tended to be when the overtime crept in. But yeah, the people who worked there just really weren't my vibe. So we kind of went back to square one again with me feeling like, oh, I don't fit in here, I don't feel comfortable. And I think this time, because it was like a smaller office, like the room was literally tiny, I feel like that was kind of like, what's the word? Magnified, because it was just like I can't really get away with just blending in. Like my old company before, that was like 60-70 people, whereas here there was literally like 6 or 7, so it's kind of very obvious that I didn't feel like part of the team kind of thing, and I was just very quiet, very reserved. But yeah, they just weren't my kind of people, and the microaggressions were real. I was just like, I need to get out of here. Like I just hated it. I was actually reading yesterday some of the texts that I was sending mom while I was working there, and honestly I was so down. I was just like, I hate it here. Like I really struggled in this job, like really struggled. I just remember constantly feeling very sick and very like panicked. Like I just felt very like on edge in a way, like yeah. But at the same time as all of this going on, this was the start of my property journey. So me and mum had decided that the property strategy that we were going to start off with was something called rent to serviced accommodation. So this is kind of like a management strategy in a way. So you rent a property off a landlord, and then under a certain contract you can basically run it as serviced accommodation. So that's like putting your property on Airbnb, booking.com. We decided to do that because it's a low money strategy basically. So we would have to spend a lot of time calling different landlords and calling estate agents to see if anybody was gonna let us do that with their property. Now, honestly, the hatred that I had for this job fully was fueling me and motivating me to just keep going. I would be on the phone my entire lunch break. I would be like walking out of the office to take calls because I was just like, I need to get out of this place. I was like, I can't stay here. I was like, I need to leave ASAP. After lots of calls, we secured our first deal in August, and then they said that we could have the keys like mid-September, which worked out pretty much perfectly for us because we actually had a family holiday to Ibiza booked. So by the time we'd come back, the property would be ready. So we were just like, yeah, cool. So the first day back from Ibiza, I actually had work the first day, and The way I didn't want to go in, I felt sick. I just couldn't. I just was just not in a good place. I just remember walking in and it was kind of like straight away it was like, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I just felt under so much pressure. I just literally felt ill. That day I was literally like in the toilets, like hyperventilating. I was like, I can't actually work here. Like this is just, it's a breaking point basically. So yeah, it was a really tough time, and yeah, I was just really struggling. So I remember this first day back at work very clearly in my life, because it was such a, what's the word, like pinnacle moment. It was a pinnacle moment in my life. And after I had work, I actually went out for a meal with my mum and dad. Dad picked me up and I was just crying. I was like, I can't work here anymore, I hate it. And yeah, we met with mom and like I was just in tears. I was like, I hate this place. I was like, I can't keep working here. I really was just on my knees. Yeah, I was just gutted. Yeah, it was just an awful time. So obviously at this point I'm fully thinking I need to leave, and I'm just like, can I do it, can't I do it kind of thing. And I'm kind of thinking, well, we are taking our property on, so I was like, well, could I just walk out and then just obviously hope for the best kind of thing, because obviously it's kind of one of those where it's like you're not really guaranteed to get bookings straight away and things like that. So I'm like, well, do I just take the risk and leave? And I'd kind of decided, well, if I leave and it doesn't work out with the property, like I've gotten jobs quickly before, so the worst that's going to happen is it won't work and I'll go and work in retail, or I'll just go and do whatever. But I'm like, I need to leave Audi, like I need to get out. So the next day I woke up early. I got up at like 6:30. I drove to work super early before anybody was there. I walked in, went to my like office, and then put my laptop under the table and text my manager and said, I'm not coming back in ever. And then from that moment I haven't had a job since. But yeah, it was really funny because on payday they actually overpaid me and paid me for the full month, even though I'd only actually done 3 days. They did contact me like 6 months later and they were like, we've made a mistake. And I was like, sounds like a you problem, babes. So yeah, and I was alright, didn't have to get another job. So yeah, obviously, do I recommend people just walk out of a job when they've just taken on one property? Absolutely not. Like, absolutely not. Like, obviously if I was in an ideal situation, I would have been able to stay at work for like at least a year probably. Saved up as much money as I could, had like about 3 to 6 months wages. Like that's what I would have done. But honestly, I was on my knees. I was on my knees. I couldn't stay there. And you know, I was kind of thinking, well, if it doesn't work out with property, then I will just get another job. But we're okay. But I also sometimes think if I was in a job that I was comfortable with, like, would I have been as motivated?
I guess we'll never know.
So we got the keys to our first property, we set it all up, put it on Airbnb, booking.com and whatever, and we literally got a booking the first day. The way we were so happy, like I literally screamed. I was like, yes, we got a booking. Things were going really well. We wanted to scale the business, so we got in contact with the first estate agent who we found the first deal through, and we just said like, oh, I don't suppose you have any more? She was like, yes, we actually have this apartment coming on, do you want to view it? So I went and viewed it on my own. I was like, this is amazing, this is really nice. They were like literally brand new, like they still had builders going in and out, that's how new they were. And I was like, this is literally like amazing. And then she mentions to me while I'm viewing them that it's actually a block of 6 apartments. Like I'm thinking I'm just turning up to view 1 and there's actually 6 there, and I'm like, oh my days, like what are we gonna do here? So I go back to mom and I'm like, do you know, it's actually like 6 apartments. And she was like, what? So crazy. We're debating what to do. We're like, do we just take on 1? Do we just take on 2? Do we take on all 6? Or like what? So we decided to take on all 6 apartments, and I decided to move into one as well so that I could manage it and just be like really close to everything that was going on. I wouldn't do it again, definitely not. The apartments were honestly an absolute roller coaster. Up and down, that's all I can say. Literally, like sometimes you'd have really high moments where you'd have like amazing guests and they'd be like, everything was perfect, I love what you guys do. Like they'd be bringing us gifts and things like that, leaving us amazing reviews. But the apartments honestly came with so many issues, so many problems. I would definitely say that the apartments showed me the worst of people. I was like, wow, now I really know how crazy people can be, because I literally would have people screaming in my face over like the pettiest thing. There'd be people having full-on parties in the apartment. We just really got to a point where we both just couldn't even cope with the apartments anymore. Like, no matter how many different policies, procedures we'd put in place, like we had really strict rules. We just felt like we couldn't stop the party bookings, and we were just like, no, we're gonna have to like give this up. But also, I've mentioned on my channel before how we kind of ended up rushing into that as a strategy, and it was kind of like the trendy, hot strategy at the time. So we were just like, yeah, let's go along with the crowd and do it as well. But really, like, my heart had always been with property development. That was always what I wanted to do. So yeah, we ended up selling the serviced accommodation business on after about 1.5 years, I'd say. So yeah, and honestly, for me personally, it's the best decision I've ever made. I just feel so much more free, and yeah, it wasn't the one for us. Don't get me wrong, I know there's a lot of people who love this strategy, they get on really well with it and it just suits them, but for me, it just was not it. It just wasn't it. So pretty much the same time as getting our first serviced accommodation property, we're also looking into purchasing a property as well. And we're looking at a property that we can renovate and rent out. So this is the part of the story where I become a property developer. And obviously, like I said before, this was really what I'd always wanted to do. So I'm not going to go too into detail here with all of the property development stuff, because honestly, every property that we've ever taken on, I've spoke about it and shown the renovation on my channel. So I'll make sure that I leave them all linked down below for you guys so you can check them out. But to give a brief summary for you guys, so March 2019, we completed on our first property purchase, and this purchase we renovated and converted it into a 5-bed HMO. Later that year, we brought our second renovation project to the old office, and we converted an office into an 8-bed HMO. And for our latest project, which is basically our third and fourth investment property, we brought an old cafe and then converted it into a 6-bed HMO and a bungalow. So that's pretty much you up to speed now. But yeah, each project that we take on, we do try to get a little bit bigger so that we can slowly but surely step up. But I honestly absolutely love what we do. Like, hand on heart, I really am proud of what we've created, and I'm so happy with how our properties look. And every property, we're just trying to like increase the standard and just do things better. And I honestly really love what we do, and we have the loveliest tenants ever. Honestly, our tenants are a dream. We never have any issues with them, but I just think because we put so much into it and they can see that, and they are such lovely properties, they do really respect that and things like that. So yeah, we've never had any issues with tenants, and it's just really like fulfilling and really satisfying to just know that like finally I'm doing something that I love and doing it well. And yeah, I feel like when we've got a renovation going on, that's when I'm just like absolutely loving life, because I don't know, I just literally love doing it and like seeing the transformation and how things change like week to week. Honestly, I live for it. So yeah, it's very satisfying and very rewarding, and I'm very much looking forward to the future. Me and Mom have been talking about our goals quite recently, so I'm very excited to see what we do in the future. But yeah, things are just looking really good. You can follow our Instagram page, it's just @_LCM home, to see what we do and things like that. But yeah, and my final little side hustle that I have to mention is YouTube. So I literally love YouTube. I'd always wanted to start a YouTube channel. So like even when I was in college, I was like, I really want to have a YouTube channel, but I was like, I don't know what to talk about kind of thing. But I'd always just wanted to have a YouTube channel. And I feel like for me, it's just like a really nice creative outlet kind of thing. I've been coming up with like some new content ideas lately. So yeah, I guess I am having like a little bit of a rebrand, but obviously I'll always share my property journey with you guys. But there might just be some extra videos in there that are just on different things, you know. I just want it to kind of be about me and my life kind of thing, property included, and just whatever else I've got going on. But yeah, YouTube is my little side hustle. So I've been on YouTube for 2 years and I've been monetized for 1 year, and YouTube kind of pays me like £100 to £150 per month, I would say. So but yeah, I definitely do really enjoy YouTube. Like, trust me, if I didn't, I would have given up by now. But yeah, like for me to be like 2.5 years down pretty much, I still really enjoy it. And yeah, So yeah guys, that was it for my job history. I feel like I've had many of different hats, many of different things I've done, but I'm glad that I'm finally in something that I really love doing, and it is something that I wanted to do from when I was a teenager. So I'm just glad that I am living out my dreams, you know. And yeah, I literally love having a YouTube channel as well. It's just my little creative space. So yeah, so guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it as always. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Leah_Miller, and make sure you subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up. That would really help me out, and I'll see you next time. Bye.